The Joe Rogan Experience.
What happened was Sam. I sat next to Mitzi in her booth. He got on stage and he did the whole bit before he had done the Young Comedians show that I was on that Rodney did, Rodney's first Young Comedians show. And it was the whole thing about, the kid whenever they do those World Vision commercials with a starving kid. And, it's famous, one of the most famous things that any comedian's done, which was just a truism.
Yeah.
Which is the cameraman can give them a sandwich, starving kid. Go get out of the desert. Go to where the food is.
That's a bit that I used in a conversation with a guy. It was a weird conversation. There was a guy who wrote a book on comedy. He was teaching a comedy course at a university. And he was sitting here talking to me, and he said that the best comedy always punches up. Because there was a time when people really believed that nonsense. Like that there was a formula to comedy, and that comedy should always attack the large power structures, and that the small people should be, elevated by comedy. So he's sitting here telling me this. I go, that's nonsense. I go, one of the greatest bits of all time is literally about starving children.
Yeah.
There's no...
Listen to Carlin.
There's no further down that you could punch. One of his other great bits was about dead people getting fucked in the ass. You remember that?
Yep.
The bit about homosexual necrophiliacs who would pay money to be with the freshest male corpse? Those are two bits where you're punching down as low as you can. Someone's dad died, and this guy's fucking him. I mean, it doesn't get any... There's no further you can punch down.
He was on stage in the main room, and he was doing a bit where he says, "This is what happened to my marriage," and he would unplug the mic. "This is my dick," and he did not need a mic to prove the point, but he would lay on the ground with his girth, and he would pretending he was having sex with his wife from behind. And he goes, "This is what happened to my marriage." And he says, "I'm trying to fuck her." And she's like, "We got to fix the fence." And he goes, "Shut the fuck up. I'm trying to fuck." This is, it needs a new coat of paint. But we can't, you can't do that now, really. I mean, you could if you were Sam.
He could do it again.
He could
if
do it.
If he was alive now, he could do it. First of all, he was uniquely qualified for that kind of comedy because he was short and he was fat and he was going bald and he wore a beret
and the long coat and he was hanging out with all the rock and roll and porn people.
And the coat, he came on stage like he was a child molester or something. You know? I mean, look at that picture. That's him and Bill Hicks.
I love Bill.
Wow, that's a crazy picture.
Bill was the sweetest, most timid guy.
Does Bill have his nails done there? So he's got nail polish on. What's going on with his tips? Oh, it's the shadows. But that was...
Sam was a sweetie then.
So when you see him then, I mean, when you go on stage, that was part of why it worked. Because I think there's a lot of people that really could do more than they're doing, and they know they could, and they want to make excuses. And it's part of the reason why throughout history they've left people behind. There's certain people that if you had a tribe and you had to make it over this mountain, and Bob is fucking lazy, and he's like, "You got to carry me, bro." I'm like, "Bob, we're both walking. Come on, man." Bob's not supposed to make it. He's not supposed to make it. We want him to make it, but we don't want our kids to die. We don't want our mom to starve. We got to keep going. Bob, you lazy fuck. Come on, bro. There's always been people like Bob, and it's part of the problem with humans. So I'm a contradiction. But hold on a second.
The best way to take care of...
I understand, but I'm going to give you... But that's what attracts people to socialist ideas. It's just that they're nice, that they want everybody to do better.
Socialist ideas are very appealing.
Yes.
I mean, I get that. And that's why they're very popular with young people who don't know any better. They don't have enough life experience to understand.
Peter Schiff, this is the bridge, because a guy like you who really understands economics can talk to a guy like me and we can explain it to everybody. Because otherwise we just have, and I'm definitely not arguing with you, but your argument versus people who disagree with you's argument. You have this, but there's an opportunity to make this bridge and for us to understand each other.
That's what I'm hoping.
I think
that's why
so.
I'm here.
Listen,
to make that bridge.
And I
because
I appreciate
want to help
that.
people evolve from being socialist to being capitalist, because capitalists aren't mean.
Yes.
They just understand the unintended consequences of these well-intentioned programs that the left is in favor of, but they don't understand that they actually backfire and make all the problems that they're trying to solve worse.
It isn't part of the problem with labels?
To your fire department.
Isn't the part of the problem?
When you have a local fire department, right? that fire department is there to put out any fire at any house, right? So everybody in the community benefits from having a fire department. It's not there just for one person. It's for everybody in the community. We're talking about where the government takes money specifically from one person and gives it to somebody else for their specific benefit because they think they need it for whatever problem, whatever reason they need the money.
Agreed. And this would be like Bob wanting money from you. Our lazy friend Bob we were talking about.
I am all in favor of private charity. I'm all in favor of people voluntarily helping out their fellow man. And Americans will do that. I mean, we did do that. We did that a lot more in the past when the government didn't take so much of our income in taxes. We had a lot more money. Like I mentioned Grover Cleveland, when he said that quote about the government not supporting the people, there was a bill to appropriate $10,000 for some farmers in Texas who had been hit by a drought. And Grover Cleveland vetoed the bill because he said, look, there's nothing in the Constitution that allows the government to give money to people just because they need it.
You heard of this problem. You knew of people that their children were going through this. And how long did it take you before you decided to commit to pen to paper on this?
So I spent maybe a month or so just hearing the reports of the parents and reading the original study. There's an original study that the book is, jumps off from, which is the Lisa Littman paper at Brown University. She's a public health researcher who looked into this. And she found that there was all of a sudden this huge epidemic in America of teenage girls deciding they were trans with their friends after social media emerging and pushing for hormones and surgeries.
Have you had a conversation about this with someone who's a trans activist that says, well, maybe what's really going on, I mean, I'm just taking the argument of it. Maybe what's going on is there are a lot of trans women and there would be more, or there's a lot of women who would turn trans, become a man. There would be more, but they never had that door open to them before, and that maybe there's more trans people than we think. Amazing.
So it's a great point, and I thought about it because I tried to look. I'm a journalist. I like to look at ideas in both sides. I did not have a dog in this race. So let me tell you 3 reasons I don't think that's compelling. Number one, when Lisa Littman looked at the prevalence rate, she found that it's 70 times what we would expect within a friend group, which means it's highly concentrated in groups of friends. But there's 2 other reasons. So we wouldn't expect that if it were randomly distributed among the population. But there are 2 other reasons I don't think that's right. Number one, if we're just reverting to normal now that there's greater societal acceptance, right? We're just reverting to a normal base rate of transgender women. Why are all the women in their 40s and 60s coming out as trans? They should be coming out. Now's their time. Now's their moment. We should see tons of women in their 40s and 60s and so on coming out as transgender. But we're not seeing that. We're seeing the same population that gets involved in cutting, demonic possession, witchcraft, anorexia, bulimia, and convinces themselves there's a problem. And there's one last reason, is that suicide rates are going up. But if these women who were living under a prior, supposedly these real transgender people who were living under a more repressive regime and are now just finding themselves, you would think the suicide rate would be going down with greater acceptance.
So when you're saying suicide rates are going up, you mean suicide rates with teens who turn trans?
Both. The rate of suicide among this population, first of all, among girls in general, is extraordinarily high. This is just one part of the mental health crisis they're in. And second of all, we know that the rate that these trans-identified kids have very high rates of suicide, suicidal ideation. It's really, an area of real concern.
This is the other paper I wanted to tell you about. It does mention aliens. So it's a it is a recalculation of
Am I in trouble for having
No,
this?
no. They're not classified. It says unclassified. It just hasn't been released.
Run out of this room right now.
It just recalculates how likely it is there are alien civilizations in our solar system or our cosmos.
How likely? So it's about the Fermi paradox?
It's
the Drake equation.
It's the Drake equation. So they've done this years ago about they tried to figure out how many planets are out there, how many are uninhabited. This is a reworking of the calculations. And again, I can't read it. I became a journalist.
Intelligence Reference Document, an introduction to the statistical Drake equation. So this is something that they created for the Defense Department so that they could get an understanding.
Yeah, what the baseline of our information is about all those different topics I told you about. And then this one is how likely is it that we have galactic neighbors, and how close might they be?
Yeah, the key question, how far are they?
It comes to an answer. It's like 30
Yeah.
pages into that, but you're the first person outside the program
Wow.
to see it.
You
So,
better drop those.
Sure this is okay?
Yeah,
It
it's
feels
okay.
like I'm going to get visited.
you're all right.
Yeah, well, how far do they think they are?
I have to dig it up for you. And again, one of the reasons I become a journalist is so I don't have to do math. So
That's one of the cool things now that's happening is because of the New York Times article and really because, you had Bob on and Commander Favorite, people are talking about this in the zeitgeist. I've had more people, serious people, come forward to me in the last year of my life than ever before. And it includes soccer moms and just people that just, I
Just
want
post the documentary?
Yes, ever since the Lazar documentary, and people found out that I kept my word to Fravor and didn't tell his story. New York Times told it. I kept all that. People started to trust me with, hey, well, he can keep his mouth shut if he needs to. Mm-hmm. People have come forward to me in droves since the Lazar movie. And of course, it's like soccer moms and people that just say, I don't want to be known. I just want somebody to hear this because my husband would think I'm crazy. Let me just tell you what happened to me and I'm out of your life.
And what are they telling you?
I mean, Joe, it's everything you can imagine from seeing craft that are right there, right in front of them, to, abduction stories, which I don't get into because it's too crazy for me. But they're reporting sightings, encounters, all UFO stuff. That's why they call me. They don't call me for other stuff, right? But also very serious people. People that have worked or do work within our military and say, I had an encounter. There was an incursion. I know George has dealt with this for 30 years. It's just new for me that the amount of people coming forward to me and telling me their stories and giving me documents and stuff like that. I got to be careful because a lot of it's got to be bullshit.
Right.
yeah.
But a good handful of it is
a
powerful.
lot of
stuff.
it is, it's like bait to reel
To
you
discredit
in, to
us.
discredit you.